Welcome to Leadership Energetics. So the last video we did was about altitude being attitude. But the reason this is so important is because our attitude is our perception of things. And the biggest thing that I've learned, I did some leadership training courses, really intense, really powerful trainings. The most powerful thing that I learned in this training is that when it comes to leadership, your perception, the way that you perceive something is key. That doesn't mean your perception is reality. It just means your perception is your current reality, and your state will affect the feedback loop of your reality. So I think sometimes people forget, yes, perception is not reality, because reality is, there's so many perceptions, so many perspectives, but it is because it's your influence of it. And so because this is alive, this is, I think people forget, I sometimes, I need to really be in that consciousness of like, this is alive, this is all live. This life that we have is happening here right now. It's not something that's just a video game where it's pre-scripted. So when we show up and we do the healing work and we watch these trainings, like these videos that I'm uploading, we improve the quality of our life because this is alive. You're alive. You're awake, you're aware, you're conscious. And this is the thing, this is why I absolutely love leadership. It's all about consciousness, right? The more conscious we are and the more aware we are of things, the more we're able to show up in our best self. And the thing is, I do believe that mental health and, then we also have lots of things like that. Really, it is just consciousness or unconsciousness. You can go explain psychopathy, narcissism, or trauma and mental health, all of that, it can go into the umbrella of either a human being is in a conscious, soothed nervous system, parasympathetic, sympathetic system, or they're in fight or flight, so it's just, are they in a calm state or are they in a dysregulated? So it's, are they regulated or not? And when you simplify it like that, you realize actually we all are really unique in our nature. There is no one person who is the same as another person. So that's why, and I'm going to slow down when I say this because I need you to hear this. That is why you need to be able to show up in the way that you need to show up uniquely with your spirit, to lead the way that you were born to lead, because you're not here to lead how they are leading and how they're leading. You're here to lead how it's true and important for you. Every time I show up with someone, and I'm somebody who is very empowering, very uplifting and I love having a positive influence and impact on the people in my personal life and my friends. Because, or especially of course my clients without a doubt, but if I ever notice that they're responding where they're kind of copying certain maneuvers, certain behaviors of which I show up with, instantly I feel like that's not good, because who I am and my blueprint and the way that I works for me, for the experiences, for how God created me, for my purposes, for my strengths, my weaknesses, my memories, everything about me. That's why I move the way that I move. But if somebody else tries to copy and paste, it's not going to work. Not because the way I move doesn't work or is unhealthy, but because it works for my path, it works for my character, for who I am. So you need to really listen to what works for you in your life, not for what works for another person. That is the key. And so when it comes to leadership, you have to find your way, because your way is the thing that's going to get you to succeed and be a really powerful, strong leader as a woman. And it's also, authenticity is one of the highest frequencies. I think it's above love and the consciousness, levels of consciousness. It's really, really strong, high frequency. Because who you were made to be, when you're authentically showing up that way, that is so powerful. But I really want to feel like we're talking about authenticity, so I'm going to be authentic with you. I hope that's okay. I think you're always going to have imposter syndrome as a leader. You're always going to have moments where you doubt yourself and moments where things feel heavy or emotional, or where you feel a certain level of deep emotion, and that's part of the journey. And I think sometimes you think, I need to fix that, I need to solve that, I need to be regulated all the time, I need to be conscious all the time in order to show up in a good way. But the truth is, as long as you're always improving and you're competing with yourself from yesterday, and you versus you, and you're continuously showing up for yourself, as long as you're in the head frame of, actually, I'm gonna keep showing up for myself, I'm gonna keep doing the work, that's when powerful healing happens, and how powerful leadership happens. Because as long as you're showing up, and as long as you're applying practice of practicality of what you are doing in your leadership, which is, for example, me showing up is doing these videos, is coaching people, is showing up for the things I say I'm going to do in my life, right? That's me showing up for myself. But you are going to have your thing to show up for. And when you show up for those things that you're applying and doing the practical of your leadership, Leadership is something that is an art form, just like martial arts or just like anything like that, because it is something that there isn't really strict rules of right or wrong, but there is a level of principles and parameters, and something that feels right and something that doesn't feel right, something that works and something that doesn't work. And when you learn what works for you and what works for your goals in leadership, every different kind of leadership is going to need a different level of approach. And I think the biggest thing is, when it comes to leadership, is regulation, consciousness, and awareness. And you do that by having a spiritual practice, showing up consistently, and just knowing that you are going to have real highs in your life, in your leadership. But don't get stuck on like, okay, I'm not in the highs right now, right? So I'm not like, oh my goodness, usually I show up this way. Why am I not showing up and measuring up? You are showing up and you are measuring up, and even though it looks sometimes you're going backwards, I promise you're always going forwards. And that's like something I live with, because it's true. You're always moving forward. You're always moving forward. There is no way to go backwards. So just know that you are moving forward, and you are getting better and better and better and better and better. And as long as you remember that, and as long as you remember that leadership is something that is about serving others, leadership is about connecting with others, it's about creating rapport, it's about relationship, it's relational. You then understand that even when you are self-leading yourself, it's still about connecting with yourself, serving yourself, and leading yourself, right? It's about relational to yourself. So self-leadership is about self-love in the deepest way possible. And even leadership for others is about self-love, because it's an expression of that self-leadership you have with yourself. So honestly, there's so much information in this video, but if I had to like just slow down and stop with just the info and go deeper into the directly speaking to you as a woman in leadership, as a woman who is doing so freaking wonderful, stop letting age, stop leaving your agenda or your looks or your outfits or your circumstances define how you show up, your worth, your identity, your value. They have nothing to do with that. And when you realize that truly, not only do you free yourself from those chains, you free every single other person around you. Because when they try to use that as a strategy, they realize, oh, I can't. And then they think, oh, but maybe that's because it doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman. At the end of the day, my leadership is not defined by that. When you move that like that, you heal others too. So you showing up big and you shining bright, you are healing others. So I want you to shine bright. I want you to take up space. I want you to shine in your fullness. And I want you to remember that it's going to have it's going to be emotional. You're going to have moments where you're like, okay, people are going to come at me with resistance and obstacles. And that's okay. Just because you have obstacles doesn't mean you need to listen to them. Just because you have people question you doesn't mean there's something that's not true or that is wrong. Maybe there is, and that's why reflection and thinking through and bringing consciousness and awareness is important. But once you do that, there's a level of where you need to decide, actually, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm confident with the path I'm in, and I'm confident in what step I'm taking. And just listen to yourself, trust yourself. So I think that's the video for today, and I know for a fact this is going to change and improve someone's life. And if that was you, like the video and comment, because I want to connect with you. And also make sure to subscribe. I'm posting these videos consistently, and I love showing up for you. It makes me feel good when you interact with me. So I'll see you very soon. And remember, leadership is a journey, it's not a destination, and it's also a beautiful art form. So enjoy. It does not have to be hard. It gets to be easy. It gets to flow. It gets to feel like ease, because leadership is the revolution that changes the world.